Hello everybody, this is Josh Miller with my final comprehensive project of TEEL 481, and let's get started. So the first things first, we're going to go into our TEEL 481 intro. So for the intro, I'd say out of everything, the feelings that I've felt were just stress. I think we started the semester, and at the beginning of every semester, it's always stressful. You're always trying to figure out your new classes. You're trying to figure out how to do homework online. It's a little different than on campus, and I've done both. So it's just a bunch of that, figuring that out. So stress level is already pretty high. So we begin the semester, and then you throw in the first day of tutoring, and you have no idea what you're doing, but you jump right in, so the stress level jumps up. And then you throw in the pre-KPTP. And then you're looking at this project and you look at the examples and you're like, oh my word, like how am I going to get this done? And then you jump into the middle and then it just gets worse and you get everything just starts to cram together and you have all these things that you're supposed to be doing. So I'd say at the beginning and throughout the class was just a bunch of stress. But it was very helpful stress. So we go back and then you look at our schedule. And this was our schedule for a year. At the beginning, it was just read. We read so much. And then you start the first day of tutoring, and through that time, we're still reading. And then we start working on the KPTP, and then we have the endless lesson plans of just doing lesson plans. I think 16 total, 14 or 12 of them were pretty intensive lesson plans. And then we get to the final day and turn in our KPTP, and the stress level comes back down. So then we'll jump to our next section, which is the part of just read. So we had so many books that we were reading. They were all super helpful. The main two that we read were the assessment for reading instruction and the best practices for literacy and instruction. And those were super helpful. I actually used those quite a bit throughout my time doing tutoring and using those in my lesson plans. Actually, I use quite a bit of those resources. And then we go to our tutoring 101. So this is just the beginning of tutoring, kind of what we did. So we started off with assessments, obviously. And with our assessments, we did our DIBELS, the QPS, the sight vocabulary, the Garfield interest survey, and I did a comprehension test. After the DIBELS, I asked a couple questions over the assessment just to see where their comprehension was at. The two I found most helpful were DIBELS and QPS. I love seeing where they're at with their fluency. Fluency is one of the big things in reading for me that is super helpful. And if a kid is not fluent in reading, it's really hard to be able to comprehend. And the QPS just broke down every single part of the skills that they need to be able to read and just showed us where exactly they're struggling. I thought those were super helpful. It was really cool though. This was one of the best things. Like we start day one and they're low, and my kids, it was amazing. They jumped up like either 30 or 50 words throughout the time of tutoring, and I thought that was pretty awesome just to be able to see that they actually got something out of it. And then the phonics, they also jumped up with that, so they grew in both areas I was really wanting to focus on. Then we split our lesson plans. We integrated them in 3 different ways. We did PE integration first, and there were both positive and negatives for this. For the positives, I thought movement was easy to integrate. I found movement to be enjoyable, and it lightened up the lesson. Students became more involved in the lessons, and it worked well in a tutoring setting. There were just so many easy ways you could throw this in. One easy way that I played charades with the kids. With our vocabulary words, we would have a vocabulary word the student would have to read, and then they would have to act it out for the other students, and then they would guess, and that was super fun. So then the negatives, I see this working really well in the tutoring setting, but it might not work as well in the classroom setting. Just could get out of hand if you don't have extra help in the classroom. You need a little bit more space to do this, and it takes a little longer to prepare for. The next one we did was music integration. We broke this into or put this into some of our lesson plans. So I thought music flew really nicely into literacy instruction. I thought they fit very well. A lot of the skills in music are skills that you use in reading. I thought it was something fun for the kids to do, and it caused kids to enjoy being at tutoring. One thing that I used was, it's called Incredibox, which is an app that it's online, it's free, and you can create like your own beat. So we would like create our own beat, and then we'd try to read poems to a beat just to work with melody and things like that. Negatives, I thought it took more time to implement into a lesson, takes more time to plan for, which aren't negatives, but they're things you have to work with. You work with multiple standards when you're trying to integrate this, and if it's not properly taught, then it can cause more damage than good. You can just confuse the kids. They may not be understanding that you're trying to teach reading too, as well as music, and it could just get more confusing. So the last one we did was art integration. So for our positives here, they're really creative ways that you can integrate it into literacy. Children's picture books play right into this. They use great art. A lot of the picture books now are incredible with the art that they have for the kids. The kids that I was tutoring loved working with art and literacy. One thing we did do, we took pictures and we created stories. So I just printed off a bunch of different pictures and they lined them up in a row and they told a story based off the pictures. I thought that was kind of fun. So negatives. I found this one to be the hardest to integrate. I think it just takes a lot of time to prepare for this and to get the supplies, get the things that you're wanting to do. And a lot of times I felt that, like with older kids, they either don't have high enough self-esteem to try with art, and they just say screw it, and they're just like, I'm not even going to try. I don't want to get made fun of. I don't want to do poorly at it, so they just don't try. So I think that can kind of play into some of that. And then there's some really important lessons that I learned throughout this time. I think one is the effort you put into your lesson plans are worth the amount that's gleaned by the students. When you put in effort to your lesson plans, the kids learn so much, and it's super rewarding. It takes time, but it's worth it, and the kids are worth it. Literacy. I also learned literacy is super complicated. There's so many moving parts. You got literacy, comprehension, vocabulary, sight words, phonics skills. There's so many different things that are working at the same time, and it's hard to make sure that they're all working properly. And then literacy just takes time. It's something that you grind day in and day out. Like, it doesn't happen one day, and one day students aren't going to grasp everything. So it just takes time to develop these skills, and you have to have a long-term approach to everything. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to everybody in this class, and to Dr. Broman. I think this is one of the classes that I have learned the most in, just because there's so much experience that you get thrown into. You just get thrown into a tutoring class, and you start teaching these kids, and you're learning on the fly, and you're learning how to make lesson plans and how to integrate things. And I just think this class was just super helpful, and I really do think that I will be a better educator because of everything that took place in this class. And just thank you to everyone else who participated in this class and went through this class with me. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to see how it helps me in the future in my educational career. So thank you, Dr. Broman, and thank you everyone else in the class.